Hello, people moving in from one to the other. Those of you coming from the last workshop, hopefully you got your cocktail and now you're in between things. Anyway, good to see folks.
Love
Hi,
it.
Are you still there?
Yeah. And yes, I do have to refresh my cocktail.
Yes.
That previous one did have some really good ideas. I was glad I watched.
Good. Yeah. And that's more of, we find so many of our nuggets of what to do at the local level, right? So I think our ability to continue to network with one another is what's so important in all that we're doing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I am going to get the next one going here. All my pieces of my screens. All right. I put you all in funny places here. Managing all these funny little pieces. Okay, come on over here. Go to the side. There we go. Oops, doop, doop, doop. Going back up. All right. I had a few more people coming in here. We'll give them one more minute here and then we'll get started. All right. Okay, more folks coming in, but I think I can watch both. It's always trying to watch all these windows to get going here. But we have a sort of I say a power hour or a power 55 minutes to get together and talk a little bit about visibility and marketing. Again, these could be like full day workshops. So, but we're trying to do two things. One is share with you our ideas and the resources. That's a big piece of this, but also to get your ideas. So please do, as we move along here, feel free to write your questions in the chat and also to share ideas in the chat. I'm going to mute everybody just so that we can kind of get started, but you can unmute yourself as we go along. If you have a question, it's easiest to put it in the chat and then I can call on you and you can unmute yourself. Seeing we do have a lot of folks here, so that's hard for me to see when I'm sharing my screen to see the hands raised. So all right, get Marty in the mix here. So tonight, what we want to do briefly is really talk about communications and marketing strategy a little bit. Again, these are all big issues that are we're going to just touch on and talk about best practices, but how to use the resources. That's really the biggest piece of tonight, because there are so many resources out there that we provide, but also that LWV US provides. And I just really want to make sure everyone knows where and how to use those. And then talk about some of those challenges, right? Our nonpartisanship and how do we partner with people. Probably one of our biggest questions, I would say, is a lot of people do want to partner, right? And they'll say, but can we partner with this group? And then we're like, well, no. What about that group? Well, no. So I know that gets frustrating. And I want to address a little bit about some of those thornier issues that you're dealing with tonight. So there we go. We'll get started. First of all, visibility and marketing. I just pulled some of my fun things. Are an old Duluth parade up there for my Duluth folks on here, and MEF, and of course, visibility is big, really fun. And all of you do it. You all are in parades, you're at farmers markets, you're doing all kinds of cool things. I did want to point out in the corner, in the right-hand corner down there with the cinch sack, that in the last workshop, we talked about going where people are. And a lot of that is tabling, right? We bring our table out or go on our parades. But we have done more of this mobile voter registration. And this was when we were part of Students Demand Action. This was a gun control group in 2018. And we wore our aprons and we had our cinch sacks, and we had a phenomenal day of registering and starting our text pledge to vote program with the students there. We still have, I've got about 600 people on that we text regularly with election information. And so we love our tabling, but we can also be mobile, go places, go with a clipboard, walk around. There's lots of ways to be out there. But I do love these pictures. So the first thing I wanted to talk a little bit is having a strategy. And I think when it comes to visibility and it comes to marketing, it really is, a lot of us just go right to the press. Well, we want to get a letter to the editor in, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that's great. But the real thing is what are we trying to do here? Who is our target audience? What's the message? And the big thing is, how will we know when we were successful? Right? So I know for us at the State League, a lot of these things are things we struggle with as well, is we want to be visible. We want League to be seen. But the real thing is looking at seen by whom, what's important. And there's different types of audiences you want to be at for different reasons. And so mass strategies as a rule, like we want to generally be seen by generally anybody, those are tough. Those are tough for small nonprofits. It's really hard to measure whether you were successful or not. And so I think it's really a good thing to find with people to say, well, how, is there a good way to do this? And how will we know when we were successful? When we were successful in the past. So this is another big piece of what I find is a lot of people have successes, and instead of build on those, then they move on to the next thing. If you've got great ways that you are really that are working for you, go with it, build on it, and share it, right? And start with thinking about, gosh, where were we successful in the past? We're going to talk a little bit about what are your resources, what do you have, who are you trying to be visible to? Are you using all that LWV provides to you? Are you maximizing the tools you have? And so strategy is just is coming up with that conversation. I think a lot of people get put on, go get visibility and get PR without these questions being really answered. So to take that time is important. And I always say, think concentric circle. You start with us, you start with your group. We are a local league. Well, who do we know? Who knows who? We always want to start anything with its fundraising, membership, marketing with our core group and mushrooming ourselves out. And so that sort of, a lot of times we forget about that. We're like, try to go way out here. Well, I'm going to try to get a hold of this reporter or this person out here who's doing some big thing. But that notion of having that conversation at your local league about, what are all the connections we have right here? Do we have if you were to survey your own members about who they know, who they're tied to, who they have a relationship with, you would be amazed at how many there are. And the idea behind the concentric circle is then you keep moving in that direction. You build from there. You build from in to go out. And a good example, a couple of good examples of that, I would say, is I would talk about our Minnesota Historical Society exhibit. So when we were starting with that, I had a connection there and we really worked on that. Some of it was a cold call to get ourselves in the door. But once we did, the idea was to really look at how we could work together on this visibility strategy. And what I'm saying, I'm actually starting with a well, you'll see. So I was very excited, right, about getting our name connected with the Votes for Women exhibit, which we did, right? We have this great thing. Well, then COVID happened and the whole exhibit happened, right? We worked very hard to get this exhibit really put together and to put our name on it and to have our logo out there. And it's really great. We have it out there and I'm really proud of it, but I can't answer these questions. You know, it was a real eye opener for and a reminder for me. Well, who are we trying to target? How do we know we're successful? I don't know how many people are seeing our logo tied to this. Who are we really reaching here? How are we going to use those people and pull them in? So it's not to say it wasn't a great idea, but we often, you know, are attracted to those kinds of really cool ideas that are big out here, when some of it is perhaps looking at more locally at some of those things. And one of the things, to give another example, is working with another organization I have. They sponsor a scholarship at their high school. Well, at the high school, every year when you sponsor a scholarship, you have an opportunity to present. If you're in the community, you're in front of all these seniors. They have senior award night, and we get our name out in front of, you know, 1,000 parents of students. And for giving $1,000 scholarship, we are in front of all of these people who have an opportunity we can follow up with. And so I really want you to be thinking like that, about those local, those sorts of, that, again, that concentric model. It's exciting to go out here, and it was appropriate for the state league to look at a state resource, so that was good. But it was also a reminder to me that we need to be able to answer some of these core questions. And this is where I use this picture in our last, for those of you who were there, I just love this picture so much, Susan. But of thinking small and starting at the center. We always want to think big, but I think a lot of visibility stuff is just, where can we be? Where can we be present over time, that people see us and they know us? Those of you who have successful registration, like for example, voter registration at schools, have been there for years, right? You have trusted relationships, you have regular programs. So the idea is, how can you bring that up a notch, right? Can you make that better? Could you now expand that visibility in other ways? I think that, you know, this was a great example. Sue and her husband, who came during the pandemic, tabled at a music night, and it was the musicians were donating money to our cause, and it was great, right? So you had a great chance to talk to a whole lot of young people, and it was great visibility, being out there and being in the neighborhood. And so it's like, now how do we build on those relationships? So those are the things we want to think about. Postcards, some of these things are just simple ideas, but I really believe in the nonprofit world, a lot of them are doing these things and continuing to do them and building that relationship over time. Postcards are so easy, and postcards, league members love postcards. What's wrong with postcards? Nothing. Postcards are great. And just because you've done it before, a lot of people are like, well, we did that. Well, you probably have new people. You can do it again. That's cheap. It's easy. In Woodbury, in my league, they started doing, just as a member engagement, they started sending postcards out to members. I love getting those postcards, right? I don't throw them away. So don't always think we have to come up with something super cool. It's really, a lot of it is the simple stuff done well over time to remain memorable. Sponsoring that scholarship, picking up the phone, inviting friends. These are all still really important things. Now, the other big thing, and we talked a little bit in the last time, but I think the biggest piece for sure, for League, everything is about partnerships. And I think we just have to continue to look at, you know, our visibility is people look and pay attention who we're hanging out with. And a big example I want to show is our Restore the Vote. The Restore the Vote coalition has sort of floundered. It's been here and there. We've got different leadership. This is for felon, reenfranchisement of voting rights for felons living in the community, ex-felons living in the community. Well, look at this group of people. The public safety, legal, government, faith-based organizations, direct service organizations, civic organizations. There we are, League of Women Voters Minnesota. Okay, do we have, like, are we visible? We're visible in this list, but look at all the opportunities for visibility and marketing here, right? We all share a common bond with all of these organizations. We could do, if we want to do anything on racial justice and voting, we got a whole big list of people we can call to be together with us, either at an event, to do candidate forums. Great group. Look at these groups. I mean, I'm saying this to myself as much as you, is like, oh my gosh, we have a whole lot. Like, who are these great groups? I just want to know them. And so the visibility, when you look at who do we want to be visible with, obviously in our world, we want to be visible with those people who are working on the issues we care about, because we already have a shared issue. And that is voting rights for all people with a capital A. So this is really, I can't overstate this importance of looking for those partnerships, and not just doing one thing with them, but doing more things with them over time. And so somebody's asking me, where is this list? And it's really, if you look at the top, restorethevotemin.org/about. This is on the website. For Restore the Vote, for example, we are playing an increasingly major role, and probably will be providing more leadership after this next session, seeing once again, we have not made the progress here. But so again, think about who else, who's somebody new you could reach out to. On this list, there's many more lists, right? In your own local community, on issues you care about. That's where the visibility, where you want the visibility to be. The other piece in getting just, marketing generally, is the opportunity really then to, through your partnership, do letters to the editor together. Coalition newsletters often get more, the coalition signed LTEs and viewpoints are often covered more than individual ones are. So this is, for me, it's just a real piece of influence here that I want to talk about. Are the partners. Okay, here we go. So the other piece we talked about a lot in our last session, and I want to make a point of this, is if we want to do DEI, where do we go? Sorry, come on. We want to go to the people. So we talked a lot about Juneteenth. Great opportunity for marketing and visibility by doing our work. So we are partnering. This is the Sweet Potato Comfort Pie Jubilee. Again, this is Sweet Potato Comfort Pie is founded by Rose McGee, who's a member of the Golden Valley League. You'll see we are represented on this. We contributed money. We're going to help with voter registration. First of all, you can't get better than Rose McGee and Sweet Potato Comfort Pie. So working with her on anything is wonderful. But this is a great opportunity. These are the things, even to be able to come forward in your community with things like Juneteenth or other events, to say, hey, could we be a sponsor? Could we help you out? Could we partner? What can we do? That is all marketing 101, right? It's not about, oh, this ad here. And then you really can be able to, I often think, you can meet several objectives at once, right? I often think we need to do 3 things with every action. So by thinking of visibility as a place for us to be in partnership and solidarity with our goal for diversity, equity, and inclusion, to be with people who believe in the issues we do, we're accomplishing multiple purposes at one time. And so I think it's really important to be thinking about your organizations and who you're partnering with. And if you're wondering, I just also put this on there, but there's a lot of people, like, for example, Minneapolis is like, hey, there's a whole bunch of people sponsoring a whole bunch of things around Juneteenth. It's not like any one group. There's lots of things you could do. You look and go, wow, there's a drive-in movie at somewhere. Wouldn't that be a fun place to go with our league buttons on? There's just more opportunities like this for us to be sort of personally visible and interacting with people than we can even imagine, especially now that we can get out of the house, which is great. So the other thing, and I know in our last session too, somebody talked about working with the local Muslim community. And I really wanted to point out, I love to what, this is the mosque we have here in Woodbury. And they always have Eid parties, right? The Eid parties, they do a great job of inviting people to have their annual picnics. And I was looking up here too, in their community outreach. And they're very active. So they adopted a park. So I thought, that's another great thing, right? These sort of opportunities to adopt a park, to be, to donate some money in your community, to put your name on something. But what a great idea that they've shared, and that those kinds of ideas of not just always, we do voter registration, that's what we do, but there are those other ways to be active in our communities, to be visible where we are. All right. So, and then last, what I really wanted to do now was to say the biggest other takeaway is to be really thinking about all of the resources that are out there. For those of you who are like, well, we want to do a banner, we want to do this, we want to do that. There are so many great resources and these links and others that are provided. So LWVUS, of course, has their brand standards, but what they have are all their logos, your social media avatar package, right? So a lot of people want, well, where do you get those cool downloads behind you or whatever? If you want to market, like right now, if I go, when I am on other Zooms, I try to put my LWV behind me and keep that in front of me. That's a marketing visibility opportunity. All of those are here. Great stuff. One of the best things they've ever done, I love about their marketing with US, is they started this great Flickr site, which is a photos. So they have tremendous photo albums, and all of these great pictures are all free for you to use. And so if you are wanting to do something cool, a flyer or anything, they have a ton of great stuff. And you'll all get this if you're wondering all these links. But again, they just have a lot of really good stuff and all easy to download. So don't try to make up stuff on your own. They are there for you. The other thing that a lot of people ask me about a lot is, and one of the things is sort of talking points. We're often ourselves challenged by, how do we talk about this, right? I mean, right now our democracy still gives us, it's how to get the language right for some of this. It's really tough. Well, both we do this, but also the LWVUS does a great job of having these like videos, PSAs, and their blog. I was going to also show you, when you're looking for language, a lot of people ask, how do we talk about these issues? How do we talk about fighting voter suppression? Well, part of it is reading their blogs. Their blogs talk a lot about the issues, and you can use this, right? You can really find out what is the language that's being used among league members when we're talking about things like keeping polling places open in majority Black counties. It's a great way to get that language figured out, because I know it's tough. And I have often just pulled stuff right out of here, and that's the benefit we're part of a whole sister organization with all these resources. We don't have to start over. Use their resources. The same is true with us. I mean, obviously on our member resources, in our LWVMN, again, last session we looked through them, but you will find obviously like our toolkits that are here. We did one of the big one that was used was the presidential primary, with a new presidential primary. We put all kinds of toolkits here. and information. But we also have, let's get to the top here, our own blog. So under news and events, we have the League News blog. This is a great place to get information, language that you can use in your local leagues. We will often release these. They'll go out to all member news and then we post them. And so when we had the Derek Chauvin trial verdict, we had language that we came up with and we put it there. We shared, you could see here, we shared this from LWVUS. So sometimes we don't even bother, right? Like, I mean, not bother because we don't want to, but like they did a beautiful job, LWVUS, of really stating what we felt should be stated. And so we shared that, we amplified that, and that's another really great way for smaller leagues and people who are challenged with, I don't have anyone to do my social media, I don't have anyone to do these things. Just elevate, have one person who just literally elevates what LWVUS and LWVMN do on our Facebooks. I know Dakota County, they have had tremendous success with that, of having one person, and that's what they do. That's a really great member engagement. Hey, who's willing to, they don't have to develop, their own post, but by reposting what we do, then they're still able to share that information, and you can add a little comment or whatever. But again, these are great resources already ready-made. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. The other thing that I really would search for that when you're looking for that. We also we do have a lot of things on our website. One of the big things we did with an intern was this big piece on media literacy and how to spot fact and fiction, and how to look at information. What do we do about disinformation? So a lot of other things on our website are also opportunities for you to share this. And by speaking into what people are currently talking about, that's really your best way of marketing, right? Right now, at least I have not been able to turn on a lot of major networks on any given week and find the number one thing people are talking about, which is voting rights and the future of our democracy. We are right in the middle of the storm here. And so we have a lot we can be saying, but you don't have to all do it yourself. There's a lot out here between LWVUS and us as well to do that and be able to do that. So that's kind of the big buckets of visibility and marketing. Again, much like membership, don't overthink it. You've got a lot of resources. You've got a lot in your own community that you can tie into, and let's use it. So I wanted to just throw up a few other things, because these were questions when we did these workshops. We built them largely around the questions that a lot of them that came through the member survey that we did. We had about 300 people respond. And these were some of the questions. And one of them was the issue of nonpartisanship, that this is, frequently a very big issue for, and a concern. And one of the issues was with regards to marketing and partnerships and nonpartisanship. And the way to think about it, for example, it really is getting to just remember that we don't endorse parties, we don't endorse candidates. We do endorse issues. We're proud of issues. We're happy to be proud of issues. And we partner with people it's very easy to partner with people who do not endorse candidates. But there are people who endorse candidates that we still partner with, but we might partner with them. We never partner with them on a voter service piece, right? So that's your big thing to think about when you're thinking about visibility and partnering, that when it comes to voter service, if we're working in an election time, and we're not going to want to be partnering. We don't, if it doesn't smell right to you, it's probably not right. And one example I'll give is, again, on this issue of our involvement with the WALS Climate Report Card I was using. That this is a piece of advocacy that we're participating in. And a lot of people do report cards, but they do them to rate candidates. We never participate in those because that's not the kind of advocacy we would do. We wouldn't rate someone based on their candidacy. And so somebody said that to us about Walz. Why are you doing this to him? I'm saying, well, we're not doing it to him. He is the governor. And we are talking about his role as governor, not as a candidate. So the big thing to think about is that's the real difference a lot of times in partnering and visibility marketing. Can we work with Indivisible, not work with Indivisible? We work with those groups when we're not working on candidates and working on elections, but we can work together on issues. And that's really the piece you need to keep in mind. The other piece that I wanted to talk about was addressing the big lie. And when we did our, which again is on our news blog, if you go on our website under news blog, I just showed you, we still have that on there from January 10th. And after January 6th, we did do a 13-page, a very detailed and annotated report addressing and calling out our representatives and senators who were part of what we would call it is as known as the big lie. And for sure, the reality is if somebody is lying, it's certainly appropriate to say they are lying. So we don't generally, I will say since I've been here in the 4 years, I have never, ever received so much positive email from league members. I generally don't get the positive stuff, right? I get other stuff. But people were really, really pleased to see that we were calling out those people. The big thing was that we did have, and unfortunately, we can't help that they were all Republicans. They were, but the reality is it would be partisan if we said, well, we're not going to call them out because they're Republicans and we don't want to look like we're all Democrats, right? That's a partisan choice to say we're not going to do something because of their political party. We couldn't help that, but that's the way it is. They, accused, sent the letter to, to the Texas Attorney General and accused our Secretary of State of illegal activity, which he did not do. So we will continue, and it is part of our role to call out individuals who are part of the who lie. So I think that is something, I wanted to answer that question, because one of the things is what I would say with visibility and marketing is that issue, again, by acting boldly on that issue was a huge, we didn't do it because we wanted to market, but we ended up marketing the league a lot. We grew, we got donors from that. We got new members from that. And I think it really is the bottom line of really both sessions tonight is people really want and need and are looking to us to be bold in empowering all voters and defending democracy right now. And that is what attracts people to the league. It means something different. Sometimes it's voting, but sometimes it's climate change, and sometimes it's racial justice, and sometimes it's healthcare for all. All these things intersect with us. But you find that sweet spot in your communities where people know, hey, you're working on an issue I care about, I'm going to join you. And so don't shy away from these issues is my thing. If you're scared and you're worried and I don't know what I want to do or say, or we're afraid because people get mad at us because they think we're partisan, call me. I'm happy to help you work through that. We've got great language you can use. And this is our time to stand up and be known, to be seen, to be doing what we need to do. Which brings me to the next question about, there are some people who have said, why do we keep suing people? Why are we doing these lawsuits? And that was interesting to see how people being sort of challenging us on that. And I kept thinking, we have to reminder as our democracy is, we have the executive, the legislative, and the judicial branch. It is appropriate to use the judicial branch. It is part of our democracy. And we keep suing Steve Simon. I like Steve Simon, but Steve Simon has nothing to do with whether I like Steve Simon, right? We look at the issues, And unfortunately, a lot of times, especially in Minnesota, we go to the litigation because we are the only state to have a divided legislature. Having a divided legislature, as we all know, is very difficult to get anything done at the legislative level, which means a lot of things have to get mooted to the judicial level. So we have had some really big cases that we have been involved in, and we are probably going to have some more coming up. And they have been, again, a source of great visibility and marketing. It isn't why we did them. And so, but it is what happened, right? When we partnered with CARE Minnesota, the Council of American Islamic Relations, on our Atlas Aegis group to prevent the paramilitary groups from coming to guard the polls, that was huge. We got new donors, we got new members from that action as well. It was a scary one to tread into. I will not kid you. It was a little unnerving, especially because I was going to those events at the Capitol after January 6th too. I mean, even before then, and watching people in flak jackets and armed people at our Capitol is very peculiar. But, it was a really difficult one for us to tread into. It was great. We have a great relationship with Jailani Hussein with CARE Minnesota. We're continuing to build that relationship. We're working on redistricting together. Again, that's an example. By being boldly who we are, brings us visibility, brings us together with new partners to work even more successfully on the issues. When you look at, for example, working with CARE Minnesota, how successful are we going to be in working with the Muslim community? Probably, we can do what we can, but together, if they can provide that introduction to us, that's really thrilling and exciting, right? So that's, again, all these things intersect, but they all keep coming down to the fact that we need to be who we are in a big way right now and offer those opportunities for people to get involved. And that's really where visibility marketing lie. So that's a lot. A couple of questions I wanted to say. Somebody was asking, is it appropriate to partner with the AFSCME union? Absolutely. I would partner with unions. Again, the real sort of firewall you want to think of is you wouldn't want to partner with them on a candidate forum if they're endorsing candidates, which they do. So, but you could maybe partner with the union, maybe on an environmental issue, right? Maybe there's an issue that, environmental issue or other issue, the healthcare issue. If you don't want to partner with people who endorse candidates when you're doing anything with and about candidates and elections. So that's just kind of the think, okay, are we working on elections? Are we working on voting right now? Then I don't want to work with someone who endorses. Otherwise, we can. Karen, great question. Can you clarify what local leagues can and cannot act on? This is actually a big piece of something. I mean, I know it's a Nick's workshop, but we really want to help do this next year. Would be one of our August Academy sessions, is really getting back to basics on our program for action. Our program for action, which is on our website, if you where we stand, right, our positions, if all our positions are there, the impact on issues, we can act. I mean, after 100 years, we have a lot of positions, and we can act on so many things. And we just have to be mindful of pulling those positions forward. And so it's not an easy question to say, can you clarify what we can and cannot act on? Many, many things, and a million things. In the environmental space with our climate change, we formed a new climate change task force, really for part of this reason is to clarify and continue to work together as league members to say what can and can we not act on. Karen, you had another question about that.
If, for instance, you gave the example of the 13-page report.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a local league if it's a state issue, we can't unilaterally put out a report or statement on that issue, can we?
So what you would, yes and no, that's where, right, that gray area is. One of the things is that the easiest thing is to say, if it's your local, if it's a local issue, you have all discretion. If it's a state issue, or like on that specific thing, you certainly can reference it, right? You could reference it in terms of your own letters and your own letter to the editor. And usually what we just like to have happen is just to let Nick know, right? Just shoot us an email. Hey, we really want to put this state issue in our local paper. I know, like Lynn, our St. Peter group, we probably one of the best publishers of things league related is the Mankato Free News. They just are wonderful down there. And so they'll often say, is this something we can do? And we'll maybe help them or tweak them. We're always happy to answer that question. There is oftentimes it depends, which I know is really annoying to, but the way I think of it is just a common sense. It's kind of like the issue of who do we partner with? If it's somebody who, they endorse candidates and we're working on elections, we don't want to do that. It's the same thing if we just issued a big statement on something and you're going to elevate that same statement and maybe add your own local flair to that, that's really fine. Good to shoot us a note if we can help you. The big thing is if you're going to say, hey, let's say I'm going to use Minneapolis. They've been doing some amazing work in public safety and really, doing things in Minneapolis, obviously with policing and public safety, and that's all great stuff. But let's say they now wanted to do an action related to the state bill related to, public safety, then they would need to come and talk to us. So we have a lot of relationships going on and we were just trying to coordinate that. It's really not a control issue as much as it is about how to be effective. And I think that's another piece of this whole really the whole piece of visibility and marketing and is how can we all maximize our all of our resources being part of a nationwide organization. I'm just looking at Peggy Decker said Red Wing used the state position letter in our letter to the editor and called out our state senator. I think if we're putting that out there for you, we want you to use it. And I think we also did provide a lot of guidance at the time. We did get that feedback, I think, after the Atlas Aegis, that local presidents said, hey, we'd sure like a heads up on this stuff before it hits, the fan, because we have members, who ask questions. And that was really good feedback. So we put out a guidance related when we did the truth and consequences. We put out there, we know you might have these questions. This is how you'd answer them. And we really laid that out. And that really helped. I think presidents really appreciated that, and we would continue to do that. I think there's always reasons for what we do. It's hard to always explain it all, but we'll do our best to also give local leagues that heads up. So questions, how about success? Does anybody else want to also put in the chat or raise your hand about other successes you've had in your league with visibility and marketing, or questions you have? I'll stop sharing my screen so we can see each other a little bit and I can notice you a little bit, but any other ideas, thoughts, hard questions? I love hard questions. Julie, I see your hand up. Julie.
Hi. So I'm starting our Twitter account again. It's been inactive for a while. And I was an elected official for many years, and I tried to avoid political debates on Twitter and Facebook. I just tried to use them for information, because local government, you can do that. But I'm a little bit worried about doing more than announcing programs. So probably right now, I assume it would be safe to repost things from other leagues and share information and share about events. But do we use Twitter to take stance as well? And what are your suggestions?
Yeah, that's a really great question. that we could spend a lot of time on. So a couple of things, I'm glad you brought it up because I want to bring up a related issue, but I think, Twitter is very good. There's a lot of, the thing about Twitter is that you can also there really elevate other people's stuff. I mean, LWVUS tweets a lot, and Nick Harper he tweets a lot, and those are easy ways. But and I think the other thing about Twitter, I mean, I think is I don't think any of us have huge I don't know of any of our leagues that have a lot of Twitter followers. It's just not because it tends to be younger audiences, but it's a great reason. Our
Right.
Instagram and Twitter accounts really showed that we were getting a lot of younger people participating in the conversation. So
I would just comment that I decided to try and engage with local high school leaders. So I contacted National Honor Society groups to see if I could kind of get a foot in the door with the schools shut down pretty much. And I was able to, with Coon Rapids High School, worked with National Honor Society, got in the door and did voter registration while they picked up caps and gowns. And I knew if I did the hashtag to the high school and some other things, I might pick up some young people. And as we do summer public events, it just might be another way to engage, because young people really like using the QR code to register to vote. When they see that, they can't resist going to it. They have to see what that QR is. And we got a lot of kids to register that way. So yeah, you're right. I found as a mayor, I had to get Twitter to engage with the athletic groups and the parents that way. So, but there's so many pitfalls. It's
a tough one. I would
Okay.
love to. I just took a note too. I think it would be a great workshop to do for all of us, is how
Sure.
to use social media responsibly. I certainly have gotten a fair share of calls over my time here of people's personal use, employees or other league members who might personally say something that people felt was offensive given who they were. And so I always say, remember, like we tell our kids, or, this stuff sticks with you, it never goes away. But I also think we're all in a position to say, listen, everybody as their own individual has a right to say, do what they want to do. That is, again, what our democracy is about, is free speech. And we have a chance. I think it was really tough during the racial justice and George Floyd, and we had younger staff members, and people were scared and upset and angry and had something to say on Twitter. And I had some pushback from some of those comments, and I just said, listen, I support free speech. They're on their own time doing their own thing, and I think but I think that's always, again, I don't apologize for people being involved and engaged, right, in their democracy and having a point of view. But it is a tough role if you start doing it. A lot of it is common sense, and just remember before you hit send or retweet or whatever. I mean, just retweeting can be a big offense too, right? It's retweeting bad things. So it's, I think it's probably something to talk about in terms of having a social media policy, in terms of what can and shouldn't. I think those are great issues that don't have always easy answers. A lot of other ideas here. Get our Wilmer, Jan, ideas for how to get our membership to seek the wonderful resources online. Could you highlight some of those you showed us tonight each month? I love that. Yes, we can, and we should. I also want to tell everybody, if you just tell your members the first thing, the second Monday of every month, you get a newsletter. Find it. If it's in your spam, pull it out, because we've had the same every month, second Monday for all the 4 years I've been here. So and we get about 40 to 50% people actually read it. It's pretty high overall, but not enough, right? So that's where we put everything so much. So Red Wing, the pandemic led us to hold our candidate forums in the public park. We had incredible visibility and positive feedback. I love that. And I really want to encourage, I really like the risks that, there was a lot of good risk taking, right? A lot of challenges. We're trying to mitigate risk at the state and figure this out. And I know, like in Red Wing, Peggy, one of the interesting things that happened from that, remember somebody was recording it. And so then then there were candidate signs, because you're outside. You can't help whether people are outside or not. And so things do happen. That's another thing I want to say just about visibility and marketing. And having been here now 4 years, I've gotten all kinds of interesting, I mean, people call, it's amazing to me how nasty people they can be. They
Mhm.
feel they can be, but it brings out like the best in me when they're really ugly. And I just feel like I have the best things to say back to them in those moments. So, but it's really far and few, and if we're really hacking a few people off every once in a while, that is okay, because you gotta get out there and we gotta do it. And if we make a mistake, I'm sorry, we'll learn. I'm all about quality improvement. We learn, we grow. I will be better person after this convention than I was before it, because I'm going to learn a whole bunch of stuff and you all will tell me what I need to learn. So we need to be brave and do cool things. So I don't, go out there and tweet, do your stuff in the parks, what I'm saying. So St. Peter uses QR code on birthday cards we send to local high school seniors on their birthdays. They get a coupon for a free donut. I love that. Yeah, how did you get the birthday dates on the seniors? They're saying. So, those relationships, right? All those relationships, all these cool ideas, keep sharing them. We want to elevate more of what the local leagues are doing. I'm always amazed. I do feel a lot of times we're just, not as in touch, and we want to help your colleagues and learn from each other and what's successful. So we want to keep bringing those good ideas forward. That's another piece we've talked about with our all member news. In the last session, we also talked about 3 new trainings we're going to start doing every year. Our August academies for league leaders, our January jumpstart for leagues and members, and then also member monthly. So we will start a monthly member meeting on the second Mondays of the month, tied to the all member news. And hopefully that will also help us build. We really want to get you guys more in touch with each other in these workshops and networking, getting to know each other. I mean, we have a wonderful, amazing membership, and I'm always amazed at, and especially when I think about the Zoom meetings, and when you think of visibility and marketing, if you guys, when you can partner, I'm just like, I can't believe they did this amazing Zoom meeting and there were, 50 people. There should be 300 people. I mean, a lot of these are so well done. So we just need to work together, and I'd like to see more leagues work together. I'm really excited about, Colleen, Feige, Edina, and those of you who are working together on some racial justice issues, to look at how you can learn from each other, partner with each other, and maximize those efforts. The other thing, when I think about, Julie, when we think about social media, that I wrote down too, and Twitter, is to start a little Twitter. What I've seen people do is start a little Twitter group. So if people are interested in tweeting more frequently in the league, we could put kind of put a group together that can talk and learn from each other. So any other great ideas or questions? Again, the big visibility on the state level will start to pick up around redistricting. We're starting to, unfortunately, our legislature did once again, for the 6th decade, not come to any conclusion here. So it will go to the courts. And so there's a lawsuit already sitting at the court, Peter Watson v. Simon. And so we're looking at all of our options right now, and we're partnering with the great RMAPS Minnesota Coalition. The other thing what I want to end with before we go is I am going to do something. We're going to do something interesting with the 29 number, but the reminder that it was really 29 people were counted. If we had counted 29 people less, we would have lost a congressional seat. And that should both haunt you and absolutely inspire you of the importance of everything we do each day. I know that I was on a school board and luckily didn't run again right before the pandemic. That was a smart move. But anyway, we we lost, we won a referendum by 5 votes. So we actually had a vote no, we were up by 18, and then we lost by 5. Every time I drive by the school that was built and all the services it's providing, I like get tears in my eyes, and I'm like, what if I hadn't have done that one night of phone banking? I mean, you think about that, and so it matters. We matter, and we all have that power. And just, I think for marketing and visibility right now, it's all about just getting out there, and people want us, they need us. So I'd love that. I'd love a water bottle sticker that's purple and just says 29. Oh, that's a good idea. I love it. Oh, now you're going to talk about TikTok. This is where I'm out of mind. Yeah, if we're going to do TikTok and Snapchat, we need to, I got to find some interns. That's all I can say about that. Marty was asking too about dates for the August workshops and treasurers training. Yes, for sure. So our August Academy, we really are just new to this, setting these up, but right now it'd be August 10th through 12th sometime, and we'll be taping everything. And so we're excited to be able to get treasurers, membership chairs, action chairs, presidents, all working together more strongly, because we're needed right now, you guys. We're one of the only really chapter-based organizations working on democracy like this at the local level with boots on the ground. And so lots to come. All right. Well, any other questions, last minute things? I thank you all so much for tuning in, for sharing your thoughts, your ideas. This was fun. It's a reminder for anyone who's part of our plenary tomorrow and Saturday. We will not be in this format. We're in the webinar format where you're kind of on your own. It feels kind of sad, but we are joining for a virtual happy hour Friday night. So if you can join me in that too. So all right, very good. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye-bye.